For every father, there's one unshakable promise to protect your child at all costs. But what happens when the world turns against you and the forces that stand between you and your daughter are stronger than anything you've ever faced? John knows the answer, he's lived it. And now, with everything he loves hanging in the balance, he'll have to confront a darkness deeper than any enemy he's ever known, before it takes everything from him. Before we dive into today's story, let us know in the comments, where in the world are you watching this video from? We'd love to hear from you. It's funny, isn't it, how the world can seem so quiet, so peaceful, just before everything falls apart. Like there's a brief moment when time itself holds its breath, knowing that the storm is coming, but it hasn't quite broken yet. This is the world John has fought for, the one he's spent his life protecting, a world that on the surface looks simple enough, peaceful, suburban. And for the last few years, John has done his best to hold on to this quiet life, but nothing in this world lasts forever. John wasn't always like this. Once, he was a man who had no problem with danger. He was a Navy SEAL, trained for the hardest missions, prepared to face death every single day. But all that changed the day he became a father. Becoming a parent changes you in ways you can't describe to anyone who hasn't experienced it. The vulnerability, the love, the constant worry that you'll fail to protect what you hold most dear. This little girl was his world. Lily was the reason he fought, the reason he left the military, the reason he endured sleepless nights, and the reason he worked every day to build a better future. Because for John, nothing mattered more than keeping her safe, nothing. And as he watched her now, laughing in the yard, he couldn't help but feel calm. John told, "You ready to head home, kiddo?" Lily told, "Are we gonna go to the park later? I wanna show you how high I can swing." For a moment, it all felt like it should. No shadows creeping in the corners, no threats lurking in the distance, just a father and daughter enjoying the simplicity of life. But peace, as John knew all too well, was often fleeting. Beneath that calm surface, beneath that quiet smile, there were always things waiting to disrupt the world you thought you knew. It was a glance, a momentary flash of recognition, but it didn't sit right with John. You see, when you've lived the life he has, when you've spent your days in places most people can't even imagine, you learn to trust your instincts. And right now, something in John's gut was telling him that this wasn't just any random encounter, it was the first whisper of something darker lurking on the horizon. You can never really escape your past, no matter how far you run. For John, the ghosts of his old life had always been just below the surface, but this was something else, something personal, something that was about to bring the storm right to his front door. In a world where danger always feels just around the corner, you don't get too many chances to enjoy the calm. Because it's always fleeting, and sometimes you don't even realize you've crossed that line until the storm is already upon you. It's funny, how quickly things can shift. One moment, life is smooth, a well-oiled machine humming along. The next, it's like the world just tilts sideways and everything you thought you understood becomes uncertain. John had no idea that his peaceful drive to pick up Lily would be the last time he'd feel the safety of a routine for a long time. John had been here countless times before, every afternoon, the same routine, the same familiar faces, but today something feels different, a subtle shift in the air, something he can't quite place, but something that doesn't sit right. As John reaches the school's main entrance, he notices a group of older teenagers standing by the curb. They are dressed in a way that makes them stick out. Baggy clothes, baseball caps turned backward, their posture brimming with a sort of aggression that feels wrong. But it's not the way they stand that catches John's attention, it's the way they're staring at him, their eyes narrow, calculating. Cold. He doesn't know them, at least not by name, but John's seen enough in his life to read a person's body language to understand when someone is sizing you up. And these guys, they're sizing him up. But why? What's their deal? Dante told, well, 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 look who decided to show up. You must be the guy from the Navy, huh? Thought we'd see the likes of you around here. John knows what it's like to be the target. He's had enemies before, real ones, dangerous ones. But this is different. These guys, they're not looking for a fight. They're looking to provoke one. They want to see how far they can push him. Dante told, what's it like, being a big-time soldier, huh? You think you're better than us just because you've got some fancy training? You can walk around like you own the place? We don't take kindly to people like you. Think you can just step into our territory and be left alone? John told, I don't want any trouble, I'm just here to pick up my daughter and go home. Dante told, it's too late for that, Seal. You're already here, and it's not just you I'm interested in. I think your little princess here might make a nice addition to the family, don't you think? In that moment, John felt his heart drop, not because of the words they were saying, but because of the way they were looking at Lily. John knew it wasn't just an idle threat anymore. They weren't playing, they had plans, and those plans didn't include a happy ending for him or his daughter. John told, stay behind me, sweetheart, get in the truck, now. Dante told, you think you can just walk away from this? Nah, we're not done, not yet. You and me, we have unfinished business. John knew what was coming. He could see it in their eyes. They weren't done, not by a long shot. And for the first time in a long time, he realized something he had long since buried deep inside him. These kids, this gang, they weren't just dangerous, they were personal. It was in that moment, with Lily retreating safely behind him, that John understood. This was no longer about him. It was about protecting her, and he would do whatever it took to keep her safe, no matter what the cost. In the blink of an eye, everything changed. John had thought this was just a confrontation, an unnecessary scuffle between some local tough guys and himself. But now, as Dante's words hang in the air, John feels something shift. It's more than a fight, it's a threat, and it's a threat aimed directly at the heart of everything John holds dear. Dante told, you don't get it, do you, Seal? It's not just about you, it's about your little girl. She's a part of our plan now, whether you like it or not. John told, what are you talking about? Stay the hell away from my daughter. Dante told, oh, I think you know exactly what I mean, John. This neighborhood, this place, you thought it was safe. You thought you could walk around here, live your little fantasy life like nothing's wrong. But there's a price for everything, and your daughter, she's the price for your freedom. John has faced adversaries in every corner of the world. Terrorists, insurgents, criminals who would stop at nothing to destroy what they couldn't control. But this was personal. This wasn't just some random street gang looking to make a name for themselves. This was something darker, a plan, a scheme, and Lily was at the center of it all. Dante mocking. Oh, don't worry, Seal. We're not going to hurt her, at least not yet. We've got big plans for her, bigger than you could ever imagine. And if you want her safe, you'll do exactly what we say. You'll follow our rules, or we'll make sure she doesn't see another day. John told, you touch her and I will end you. Dante told, I don't think you understand, Seal. You don't get to make the rules here. You don't get to control these. You're in our world now, and you'll do exactly what we say if you want her to leave. Because we're not playing games. You step out of line, one wrong move, and she'll disappear. Behind them, the muffled sound of distant sirens can be heard, but in this moment it feels irrelevant. The situation is spiraling too fast, the danger is too real. There's no backup, no reinforcements. It's just John, Lily, and this gang, and in John's mind there's no question about who will walk away victorious. John has fought on foreign soil, faced down enemies with no regard for human life. But the fear he feels now, as the weight of Dante's words settles in, is unlike anything he's ever experienced. This isn't a mission, this isn't a battle, this is about his daughter's life. And that makes it more dangerous than anything he's ever faced before. Dante told, I'm sorry it's come to this, Seal, but we're not the ones making the rules here. You are, you get in line, or your little girl becomes a collateral damage." In that moment, John realized something he already knew deep down but had refused to acknowledge until now. This wasn't just about survival, this was about sending a message to Dante, to anyone who thought they could threaten him, his family, his home, and John was about to make sure they learned the hardest lesson of all. There's a moment in every fight when the first move is made, the world holds its breath, the silence is thick, and then, when it breaks, it's violent. John's mind races, calculating every possibility, every movement. He knows what's coming, he knows the stakes, and as Dante's men circle, as the threat to Lily grows sharper with every passing second, John realizes something. He's not just fighting for his life anymore, he's fighting for her future. Dante mocking. "You should have stayed away, Seal. You've got no idea who you're messing with. But if you want to play, we can play. Just know this, we always win." But this was different. This wasn't just a war fought with bullets and bombs. This was a fight for the heart of everything John had built. And in that moment, the warrior within him, the part of him that had been forged on battlefields across the world, wasn't going to let anyone take that away from him. Not now, not ever. John told, "You want to fight? Fine, but if you lay a hand on her, I swear to God, I'll make sure none of you leave this parking lot." It's the precision of a man who's been to hell and back, the kind of control that only comes with the years of training. John isn't some amateur street fighter, he's a seasoned warrior, a force of nature when he's in his element. And this is his element. This was the side of John they didn't see coming, the trained, disciplined Seal. The man who had fought in foreign lands against enemies that knew no mercy. And now the same ruthlessness that had kept him alive in those wars was being unleashed here in this suburban parking lot. The difference was, here he was fighting for something more than just survival. Dante told, "Is that all you got, Seal? You think you can just take us down like it's nothing?" But John isn't just fighting for himself anymore. As he looks back at Lily, standing by the truck with wide, terrified eyes, he realizes the stakes have never been higher. He's not just protecting himself from these men, he's protecting her, her innocence, her safety. And in that moment, every punch, every movement, every decision is about one thing, keeping her alive. John moves like a storm, a violent, unstoppable force. There's no hesitation in his strikes, no mercy in his movements. It's a dance of survival, and John is always one step ahead. But as the chaos continues, as the sounds of violence echo through the parking lot, something becomes clear. This fight isn't over, not by a long shot. Dante told, "You think you've won? You think this is over? You don't know who you're messing with, Seal? You think we're the only ones who've been watching you?" John told, "You're done. Get out of here before I finish what I started." In that moment, as Dante looks at John, the realization sets in. The fight has been lost, not just today, but in every decision that led them here. Dante and his gang thought they had control, they thought they could break John, but they underestimated him, and now the storm has come, and John is the one who's standing in its eye. John had fought off the first wave, his instincts taking over, his training guiding every move. He'd protected his daughter, pushed back against the gang, and in a way he'd won, but something felt wrong. As Dante and his men slinked away into the shadows, John felt a presence, something darker, more dangerous, lurking just beyond his line of sight. This was a victory, but only a small one. The real fight was still out there, and John knew it. Lily told, "Dad, what's going on? Why were they trying to hurt us?" John told, "It's okay, sweetheart. They're gone. They won't hurt you." It wasn't over. No, not yet. John could feel it in his gut, in the pit of his stomach. The world wasn't going to let him walk away from this unscathed. Not when someone like Dante had a score to settle, not when there were deeper, darker forces at play. John had seen the twisted nature of evil in his time overseas, but this felt different, personal. He'd seen men like Dante before, the kind who would take whatever they could get and never stop until they had it all. But what had they wanted with the Lily? What had they truly been after? But then that quiet is shattered. A sound, faint but unmistakable, cuts through the air. It's the sound of something wrong, something John hadn't expected, and in that moment he realizes it. This isn't just a street gang anymore. This is something far more dangerous, something far more calculated. The figure that emerges from the darkness isn't just another thug. He's too well dressed, too composed for that. He moves with the kind of confidence that only comes from being a man in control, a man who knows power. John feels a chill run down his spine. This isn't a street fight anymore, this is something else entirely, a whole new breed of threat. Man told, "I don't think we've been properly introduced. John, my name is Victor Cross, and you've just made a very, very big mistake." Victor Cross, the name hits John like a sledgehammer. He's heard rumors, whispers on the wind. A figure in the underground world of organized crime, a man whose reach extends far beyond what anyone could imagine. Cross isn't just some thug, he's a mastermind, a shadow pulling strings from behind the scenes, and he's the last person John ever expected to show up here. John told, "I don't know who the hell you are, but if you think I'm afraid of you..." Victor Cross told, "You should be. You're not just dealing with some street punks, Seal. You're dealing with a man who can make your life a living hell, and more importantly, you're dealing with someone who has the power to make sure your daughter never sees another day." In that instant, everything becomes clear. The threats against Lily weren't just a bargaining chip. They weren't some petty attempt at control. They were the means to an end. A twisted game where the stakes were far higher than John could have ever imagined. Victor Cross didn't want John to be afraid. He wanted to destroy him, piece by piece, and the first move was already in motion. Victor Cross told, "It's not your life that I'm interested in, John. Not really, it's hers. You've already made your move by fighting my men. Now it's my turn, and I don't play by your rules, Seal. You don't have a choice here. Either you work for me, or I make sure you'll never see your little girl again." John's world just got a whole lot darker. The fight he thought he'd won, the battle to protect his daughter, none of it matters now. Not when he's facing an enemy who can erase everything he holds dear with a single phone call, a single command. Victor Cross wasn't here just to scare John. He was here to break him, to destroy everything he'd built, and to make sure that, no matter what, John would be forced to play by his rules. John knows the feeling all too well, the moment when the enemy stops playing by the rules, the moment when the stakes are so high, so personal, that they can't be ignored. Cross isn't just another gangster, he's a man with power, with influence that could reach anywhere, and with his daughter in the crosshairs, John has no choice but to act. Victor Cross told, "You see, John, the clock's ticking. I don't play games. Well, not anymore anyway. I gave you a choice, and now I'm giving you an ultimatum. You can follow my instructions, or you can say goodbye to your daughter. You've got 1 hour." There's no time for hesitation, no room for doubt. The game is on, and the clock is ticking. John knows that Cross is not a man who issues empty threats. Every second counts now. 1 hour, that's all he has to turn the tide, to stop whatever plan Cross has set in motion. But John isn't just facing a race against time. He's up against a man who's always one step ahead. John told, "Listen to me, Lily. You stay close to me, and we're going to get out of here. Do you understand? No matter what happens, you stay with me." John's instincts are a blur of rapid calculations. He can't afford to lose precious time. His first priority is getting Lily somewhere safe. But where? Cross has eyes everywhere. Every move, every step could be anticipated. This fight was no longer about brute force. It was about outsmarting a man who had more resources at his disposal than John could ever imagine. John told, "Stay behind me. Don't let anyone get near you. I'm going to make sure you're safe, I swear." John's heart races. He's being watched. He knows it. Cross is always 2 steps ahead, and the realization sinks in like ice water. Every decision he makes will be scrutinized, every move countered. This isn't just a race against time, it's a race against someone who can track him at every turn. He pushes the pedal to the floor, the car lurching forward as the seconds tick away. But just as he's about to make a turn onto the main street, he hears it, sirens, blaring, coming from behind. It's not just one siren, it's a whole convoy, coming fast. John's pulse spikes as he glances in the rearview mirror again. A black SUV is tailing him closely, followed by another and another. The chase is on. The game Cross set in motion is unfolding in real time. John's eyes dart from the rearview mirror to the road ahead, his mind calculating his next move. The clock is ticking down, and Cross's men are closing in. John doesn't have the luxury of a slow, methodical escape. Every second counts. Every corner, every turn could be his last chance. This isn't just a random chase. This is a well-oiled machine, a pursuit meant to corner John at every turn. And Lily, she's in the passenger seat, her eyes wide with fear as she watches the world blur around her. John knows he has no time to waste, no more second chances. John told, "I'm not letting them get you, Lily. I swear I won't let them take you." It's a game of cat and mouse now. The clock is ticking, but John knows that every decision, every maneuver could be his last. The odds are stacked against him. The road ahead looks endless, but there's nowhere left to hide. Cross has made his move, and now it's John's turn. The question is, will he make it in time? John told Lily, "Listen to me. Don't look back and don't stop moving. We're almost there. We can do this." John knows there's only one way out now, one choice that will determine everything. If he doesn't act soon, if he doesn't shake these men, there will be no escape. There will be no future for him and Lily. The time for evasive tactics is over. It's time to face this head-on, to take the fight to them. He slams the car into gear and pushes harder on the accelerator, weaving in and out of the twists and turns. His mind is razor-focused, but there's a new feeling creeping into his gut, a sense of resolve. He's done running. This isn't a chase anymore. This is a fight for his daughter's life, and if he's going down swinging. John's instincts have always been sharp, trained to survive in the worst of circumstances. He knows this area like the back of his hand, and he's betting everything on the idea that the men chasing him won't be able to keep up. The question is, will it be enough? John's world narrows down in an instant. No escape, no way out. The walls are closing in. The men that Cross has sent after him aren't just thugs. They're trained, they're armed, and they're ready to do whatever it takes. John's heart pounds louder now. Every breath feels heavier. And then it hits him. The one thing he has left to do. The one thing that will force Cross to stop. John told Lily, "Get down." This is it, the ultimate test, the fight for survival. There's no turning back now. Every move John makes will determine the fate of his daughter. He's got one shot to end this, and he's not going to miss. The sound of boots pounding the gravel grows louder. John takes a deep breath and peeks around the corner of the car. The men are closing in, their weapons raised. But John is faster, his training kicking in. He pops up from behind the car and fires off another quick shot, striking the nearest man in the leg. He goes down with a grunt of pain. In that moment, John sees the only opening he's going to get. His heart races, but his mind is calm. He makes his move. Every muscle in his body knows what to do. The training, the sacrifices, the horrors of the past, they've all led to this one final test. And then, in a split second, as the gates crash open, he sees it, the car that will take them to safety. He shoves Lily into the passenger seat and slams the door behind her. He jumps into the driver's seat and doesn't look back. The engine roars to life and the chase is over. But for how long? The gates slam shut behind them. The danger momentarily paused. But John knows better. This isn't over, not by a long shot. He's won this round, but Cross is still out there, and when the storm comes again, John will be ready. What would you do if you were in John's shoes, faced with an impossible choice to protect your loved ones? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. If you're enjoying the story, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe for more heart-pounding action.